Hello and welcome to Ardagh Rugby's CDM induction. The induction should take around about 30 minutes, so get yourself comfortable. And if you have any questions, it's probably worth jotting them down because you can ask those at the end. Also, any changes that have happened between this video being made and now will be explained to you at the end. Entry to site. All visitors need to sign the COVID-19 declaration form at the gatehouse before entry to site. All visitors will have their temperature taken before entry to site, and also on a daily basis when you enter site you will have to pass through the thermal imaging cabin, which is located at the bottom of the car park. Day visitors to site need to sign in at the gatehouse and will receive a visitor's pass, the site rules and a car parking pass. Contractors will need to sign in at the CDM area and sign out when leaving. This picture here shows where the CDM sign-in cabin is. So even though you sign in at the gatehouse, you'll still need to sign in at the CDM area. And we use this not as a clocking in method, but really to see who's in on site. So if we have a fire event or any other kind of emergency event, we know who's on site. COVID-19 control measures. All COVID-19 control measures must be adhered to whilst on site. Face coverings must be worn in all shared areas. You must make sure that you're covering your nose and your mouth at all times. You must go through the thermal screening cabin before entering site, and if the alarm goes off, then you follow the instructions that are written up on the wall. Always maintain a 2 metre social distancing distance and wash your hands regularly. Within the contractors' cabins, and especially the canteens, maximum 3 people per table. Use hand sanitizer, use this frequently, and adhere to all one-way systems that are in place. Do not hang around in corridors and avoid sharing tools and equipment. If that's unavoidable, then clean down the tools before you use them, and avoid sharing pens. COVID-19 face coverings. Now, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to wear, I know that, but it's important that we all wear this and respect each other. It's not PPE, it's not protecting you, it's protecting your colleagues and your workmates. So when we wear the mask, we need to make sure that we wear it properly. So don't use it if it's damaged or it's damp. Don't wear it around your chin, it has to be worn correctly, covering your nose and mouth. Try not to touch the mask if you can, although this is difficult because quite often the masks move, especially when you're talking. Don't share your mask, and when you've finished with your mask at the end of the day or when it gets wet or damaged, make sure that you dispose of it correctly. So we want to fold it in half and then fold it in half again and then put it into a bin. And this saves it blowing out the bin and then it becoming somebody else's problem. COVID-19 glasses fogging. Now this is something that everybody is going to suffer from at some stage. And because we're having to wear glasses within the production area and when we're working and we're having to wear the face coverings, quite often you get fogging up of your glasses. And here are 3 methods that may work for you. The top one, the tuck method, works for me particularly well. So the tuck method is where you put your face covering around your nose and manipulate the strip, the metal strip there, so it fits the contour of your nose, and put your glasses just in front of that metal strip. And this, after a while, will prevent your glasses from steaming up. There's also the tissue method where you fold the tissue, as you see in the middle left-hand photograph, and you sellotape it to the top of your mask, and that works for some people. Another method is the soap method, where you wash your glasses in soapy water, and then you clean off the glass with a soft tissue or soft cloth, and this may work for you also. There are also some other tips on the BBC website that may help you. If you're finding that these aren't working for you, then it's necessary for you to stop, to clean your glasses, replace your glasses, and then carry on. We're not asking you to work with steamed up glasses. Induction check sheet. Now, you may already have filled this out. So as part of the induction process, you'll need to fill in an induction check sheet. You'll be asked to fill in who you are, your next of kin, and we only use that in case there's been an emergency and we need to contact somebody quickly. Who you work for, not who you're subcontracting for, but your work company. What work you'll be carrying out, where you're working on site, and how long roughly you're going to be on site. This will allow Ardagh Group to initially assess the risk and act accordingly. You'll then be asked to read, understand and agree to abide by your company's risk assessment and method statement. You'll be asked then to declare if you are using certain machinery or equipment, such as mutes, forklifts, etc., and then prove your competence, normally by a license or a card. Then you sign the induction form and to indicate that you fully understood the induction and you have read and understood the COVID-19 control measures. If the answer to any of the above is no, action is required to resolve the matter before you start work. And all persons must understand this induction and COVID-19 measures before entering site. Do not start work unless you've read, understood and agree to abide by the company's risk assessment and method statement and signed. Do not use plant, equipment, machinery or tools unless you are competent and you have supplied a current competency certificate, forklift truck, MUPE, PASMA for erecting mobile scaffolds, etc. And if in doubt, just ask during the induction process. Personal protective equipment, PPE. It's your employer's responsibility to supply you with PPE, and it's your responsibility to use it correctly. Mandatory on site are face coverings in shared areas, hearing protection, so this is standard hearing protection only, no musical devices, hard hats, not bump caps, safety footwear with a steel toe cap, steel sole and anti-slip, safety glasses or over glasses if you wear corrective spectacles, high-vis vest, waistcoat or jacket. You'll need to wear blue tape. You need to put blue tape if you have a plain wedding band and you don't want to take it off, and that's available on the entrance to the factory. So you'll have to cover your wedding band with blue tape. No jewellery, no watches, etc. Gloves, you only need to wear these where they are appropriate to your task or activity, and as highlighted within your risk assessment and method statement. Any other PPE required for your activity to keep you safe. Contamination prevention. So Ardagh Rugby is classed as a food factory, and there are beverage cans being produced. So we need to protect the integrity of the product at all times. So don't wear anything which may cause contamination in a production area. No jewellery, chains, rings, piercings, etc. No watches, no musical headphones. Keep insect screens on the exterior doors. Make sure if you are going in and out of these that they're closed behind you. Wash your hands after using the toilet and before entering the production area. Always replace conveyor top covers. Airborne dust contaminates cans, so this must be adequately controlled. Make sure that you plan to do that before you start the job. When working above the production area, be aware of the risk of contamination and act accordingly. If lines are running near to your work area, they should be covered or screened off. Empty cans, pallets and layer cards should not be used for any other purpose. Conduct on site, BBS, Behavioural Based Safety. The site operates a BBS system, and the system is there to encourage safe working for all. So individuals carry out observations on each other, including contractors, and the results are recorded for monitoring purposes. Anybody can be observed, and the person being observed is not named. Cards are available, so you can use these also at the entrance to the production area. Your completed cards can be given to your supervisor or dropped in the box near the CDM and production office. Mobile phones. The use of mobile phones is not permitted whilst you're working or whilst in the production area, except for authorised personnel. It needs to be authorised in writing. This includes checking the time. The use of mobile phones for personal calls should only be made during rest breaks. So if you need to use your phone, you need to remove yourself from the production area, either go outside or go to one of the welfare facilities. Conduct on site. Remember, you have a duty to yourself and your colleagues to maintain a safe working environment at all times. It's your responsibility to ensure that you are working safely. If you do not, then you'll be stopped. And don't indulge in horseplay. All operatives must work in accordance with the site induction, which details the control measures to be adopted in order to reduce the risk to an acceptable level. All operators working on site must have read and signed the induction paperwork and agreed that they have understood all of the control measures. Certain RDAR policies are applicable to everyone on site. For example, bullying and harassment, drink and drugs at work policy. Hazards on site. Now this is a list of hazards just to get you started. There will be more than this, and you may be bringing some hazards on site with you. But there are, it's loud in there, so there's noise as a hazard. There are flammable liquids, cutting fluids, chemicals, forklift trucks, especially outside and in the warehouse area. You need to be very wary that if you're working in these areas, that you protect yourself against contact with a forklift truck. HGV movement, mainly outside. High-speed equipment which starts automatically around the whole of the production area. Confined spaces, working at height or working on the roof. Wet and slippery floors, plus more. You need to be observant. HitNot device. So wearing of a pad, a personal alarm device, and a high-vis vest in the warehouse is mandatory, and it's linked now to a permit to work system. HitNot is a proximity detection system, and this technology which uses magnetic fields to detect people and traffic danger. If you're entering these areas, you need to take a pad, a personal alarm device, from the charger and place it in a pouch, or if necessary, it clips onto part of your clothing, and hang that pouch around your neck. When you leave the warehouse, return the pad to the charging area. They're quite expensive, and they're also there to protect other people as well, so make sure that they return to the charging area. Chargers are located next to the baler area and the finished pallet area, and I'll show you a picture of where they are. When a pedestrian enters the forklift warning zone, both his pad and the forklift alarm will give 3 beeps and a light to warn of the threat. You will need to be able to see it, so make sure that your device is in a place where you can see it, not in your pocket. When the pedestrian enters the danger zone, the pad and the alarm will sound and a light will continuously come on until the threat is over and the pedestrian is out of danger. It's worthwhile pointing out though that this is not the be all and end all of safety for you in that area. It's just one part of it. When you're working or accessing this area, you need to make sure that you have a robust safe system of work, method statement and risk assessment, and a permit to work. in order to protect you. And if you're working in there for a long time, a long period, we need to make sure that you're barriered off and protected from any vehicle movements. HitKnot device and warehouse permit to work. So the area that you can see in this picture that is in red is where you need to wear the HitKnot device. And the two yellow circles in the middle of that picture show where you can obtain a HitKnot device. The red colour also denotes where you need to obtain a permit to work, and you need to obtain this permit to work before you work in this area. Some people will go to the shift manager in order to get the warehouse permit to work. Other people, contractors mainly, will go to their project engineer or manager. Forklift trucks. Be aware of forklift truck presence around the site, and as I say, especially in the warehouse and outside. Contractors are not permitted to use ARDAR's forklift truck unless given prior written approval. Assume forklift trucks always have the right of way, whatever the circumstances. And do not position yourself within 2 meters of a forklift truck. Keep to the designated walkways. And forklift trucks should sound their horns to notify of their approach, especially when they're approaching a doorway. Please be aware of your surroundings. Operating plant and equipment. So only trained and competent persons with a current certificate submitted and checked by ARDAR CDM project team are to operate plant and equipment. If you are found operating plant and equipment and we haven't seen your license, or you are not licensed for that particular equipment, you will immediately be removed from site. Plant and equipment must be checked in accordance with legislation, daily, weekly, monthly, and these checks must be recorded. Plant and equipment must have all statutory, thorough examinations and inspection certificates checked by ARDAR CDM project team. Plant must have details of who controls it, a contact name, contact number displayed upon it, and this gives us the opportunity that if it's parked in the wrong place, or it's obstructing some other work, we can contact somebody and quite quickly and easily get it moved to a better place. Keys are not to be left in unattended plant or equipment, and this is to prevent unauthorised use. Vehicles must be parked safely, and charging cables must not cause a trip hazard. Chemicals and hazardous substances. Before you bring chemicals, substances or mixtures onto the site, you must supply a COSH risk assessment and a material safety data sheet for each. The material safety data sheet must be available for review at the point of storage, transportation and use. Quantities should be kept to the minimum quantity for use, and chemicals must be stored, transported and used in accordance with the manufacturer's material safety data sheet, and only used by competent persons. Dust and fumes. Welding fumes. Welding fume control measures must be built into your company's risk assessment and method statement. Control measures must be used to protect all persons from welding fumes. Control measures such as ventilation or personal protective equipment must be suitable and sufficient, and equipment must be maintained in good working order. Dust and fumes. So silica dust. Silica dust is created by cutting, drilling, planing, grinding, etc. of products such as brick, block and concrete, etc. And you can see two examples of this in the pictures above. The one on the left obviously is being controlled and suppressed by water, and you can see that the water is grabbing hold of the dust and it's basically making a puddle on the floor which is containing that dust. The one on the right is totally unacceptable. This dust is dangerous and it shouldn't be allowed to get into this situation. So control measures must be used to protect all persons from the silica dust. Control measures such as extraction, damping or personal protective equipment must be suitable and sufficient, and equipment must be maintained in good working order at all times. Electrical works. Electrical work can be carried out by competent and qualified persons only. High voltage work can only be carried out by an appointed person. Follow the Electricity at Work Acts and regulations. All portable and transportable electrical equipment must be PAT tested, and for a construction site such as ours, it must be every 3 months. All portable tools must be 110 volts, and working dead is preferred. If working live is to be carried out, a safe system of work and a live working risk assessment must be approved before carrying out any works. Overhead working and working at height. Make sure the falling object zone is cordoned off below the works, so that if anything does fall, then it's falling into a sterile area and nobody's going to get hurt. Make sure there is a person below to ensure nobody enters this sterile area, and put signage to explain the reason for cordoning off. If an area is fenced off or guarded off, do not enter. Falling objects can cause serious injury and sometimes death. Overhead working and working at height. It's worthwhile mentioning that falls from height are the biggest cause of fatalities. All working at height to have a risk assessment and method statement approved before work can start. All working at height to have a permit to work issued, and all persons working at height must be trained and competent to carry out the activity safely. All working at height equipment must be inspected before each use, so this is a pre-use inspection. And all working at height equipment must have a current thorough examination certificate which is in date. Use the hierarchy of control measures when considering working at height. So can you avoid working at height? Can you prevent a fall? And if you can't prevent a fall, can you mitigate? Can you make the circumstances less serious? No person should be put in a position where a fall from height could occur. Waste and environmental controls. Do not empty any substances into the drain before first consulting with a relevant member of staff, project manager. Pay attention to signs on the waste skips for the correct segregation, so do not mix waste. Inform the shift manager immediately in the event of a major spillage. Any land contamination should be reported to the local environmental authority by the EH&S team leader / manager. During the project, the location of the skips will probably change, but the skips will normally be located, if you look at the drawing of the site here, in Area 31, which is the yard outside, or it could be within Area 24. But sometimes where we're doing a lot of work, the skip may be right within your work area. So ask your project engineer or project manager and they'll show you where the skip for you is located. Fire prevention. Smoking is strictly prohibited on site and in vehicles, and this includes e-cigarettes and vaping. There is one designated smoking shelter on site, and this is located outside the contractor's cabin. If this is unavailable, then you are able to use the smoking shelter which is outside the canteen, so the Ardagh canteen. If either of these shelters are full, please wait your turn. Remember social distancing. Anyone caught smoking outside these areas will be subject to the appropriate action being taken. Any hot work requires the appropriate permit. Fire prevention. In principle, hot work is not allowed anywhere including outside, except for the welding bay. Before any hot work can be considered, an alternative method assessment form must be filled in and signed by an authorised plant representative and the plant manager. If the plant manager is not available, then the engineering manager or the health and safety manager can be substituted for that signature. If there is no other method possible, a hot work risk assessment must be completed by a project engineer. A permit to work must then be completed, and this is to be signed by the plant manager. When the work is complete, the area is to be watched, so there needs to be a fire watch for 1 hour. The permit then can be signed off and returned back to the representative. Fire evacuation. If you discover a fire, do not take risks and do not put yourself in danger. Do not attack the fire unless you're trained and it is safe to do so. Raise the alarm by operating the nearest alarm control point, which is pictured above. Leave the building by the nearest safe route. Close all doors behind you. Report to the fire assembly point, which is located in the upper car park near the gatehouse. For contractors, we are the furthest left. So if you look for the flagpoles, we are on the left of those flagpoles. Stay there until instructed to do otherwise by the emergency response team, ERT, or manager. And please familiarise yourself with all exits, the alarm call points within your work area. Emergency response. There is a fire alarm test every Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and it'll be for a short period, and there's no evacuation required. The start and the finish of the test should be announced. Know where the exits are located, and exits have signage. The continuous tone signal means evacuate. Do not collect belongings and report to the contractor's assembly point within the car park. If it's a false alarm, then a member of the management or the ERT will say when it is safe to go back into the building. Accidents, first aid and near misses. Report all accidents and near misses to a coordinator, team leader or shift manager. All accidents must be reported within the accident book, and there's an accident book within the project main office. If you see a hazard or have a near miss, let us know so we can take action to prevent it from happening again. The near miss hazard book is located within the production office. If you have an accident or feel unwell, ask to see a first aider. There's a list of first aiders in the corridor near to the canteen. If you have or develop any physical or medical conditions which could affect your personal safety whilst on site or the safety of other persons, you must report such a condition to the ARDAR site project manager, so a risk assessment can be made that would reflect these conditions. This information will of course be kept strictly confidential. Housekeeping. Housekeeping is a foundation of safety, and it's an important factor for improving safety. Clear work area of all redundant items, for example rags, parts, containers, pallets, etc. Leave the area in the same condition as you find it, or better, and 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the day must be used for clearing your area of any rubbish items that could have caused an accident or fire. Red card system. Behavioural procedure for the project. So contractors, individuals or companies who clearly ignore the site safety rules described in the CDM safety induction, the construction phase plan, work permit or approved method statement risk assessment will be managed using the site's non-compliance and disciplinary procedure. The project will operate a two-tier system that is namely the yellow and red card system. The construction phase plan will detail the safety breaches which fall under the yellow and red card heading, but this is not exhaustive. A yellow card will be issued to crews or individuals who breach any of the yellow card non-compliance. This will require the crew and the individuals to stand down for 1 hour to allow the breach to be rectified. There will be no work carried out during that time. Such remedial action may include re-risk assessment of the task, housekeeping exercise, re-induction or retraining. Where an individual or crew breaches one of the listed red card items, they will be dismissed from site for a minimum of 2 days. This allows us to make a decision on how this will be dealt with the client and the principal contractor. Lockout tagout. Before any maintenance or engineering work is carried out on a machine, it must be isolated from all energy sources. It's not enough just to switch off the machine. The energy source and residual energy must be made safe. It must never be assumed that an electrical circuit is dead until it's been proved to be so. Residual energy must be removed and the machine or process made safe before work can start. All isolations must be secure to prevent an inadvertent re-energizing. Each person working on that system, process or machine must have their own lock on the isolator. Permit to work, PTW. Permits to work are required for the following activities and tasks. General permit to work, which will probably last weekly. Hot work, daily. Access to the warehouse area, which will be a daily, and that will be gained from the shift manager or the project engineer. Working in confined space, which will be daily. Working at height, electrical works, roof access, which will be daily, and access into the wastewater compartment. If you're in doubt with any of this, just ask your project engineer or project manager and they'll tell you the correct permits that you need. These are issued by the ARDAR project engineer in charge of you, and once complete must be signed off and cancelled. Main corridor. So the picture here shows the main corridor. You've got male toilets on the right. We've got our own toilets facilities within the porter cabins, so that's the ones that the contractors will be using. So we won't be using those. And the canteen, I'll explain the rules for the canteen on the next few slides. But contractors are not allowed to enter the canteen unless they are the supervisor collecting food for takeaway. Further down the corridor, you can see that there is a hygiene area, so you should be washing your hands prior to each time you enter the site. But it also shows that the place where the production office is, and obviously the production office houses the hazard and near miss book, and also is where you would deposit your any near miss information that you want to be raised. And then you see the production area main door, so all relevant PPE must be worn past this point. Welfare facilities. So welfare facilities available to you and where. So we have toilets within the contractor's welfare facility. So if you look at the block of porter cabins, the toilets are on the extreme right. Washing facilities are within the same block. And hand sanitizer is available at key areas throughout the site, and feel free to use these as often as you need to. Food and eating facilities are within the contractor's welfare facility. We have 3.5 cabins devoted to a canteen facility for you, so you can bring your own food in or you can collect food from the canteen. You're not allowed to use the canteen. Drying and changing facilities are available within the block, which is on the right hand bottom. First aid facilities are available through the ARDAR site, and there is a kit available in the project office. Accident book is available in the project office, but if you can't gain access to this one, use the sites, which is in then the site manager's office. Canteen facilities. Contractors are not allowed to enter the canteen unless they are the supervisor collecting food for takeaway. Food and drink is available to you, but because of the restrictions, you'll need to place your order through your nominated person. So there will be one nominated person for each contracting company. The aim is to reduce the number of persons entering the canteen to an absolute minimum. Your order and payment will be taken to the canteen, and arrangements for collection by the nominated person only will be made. You can consume your meals within the canteen facilities in the contractors' welfare facilities, so the porter cabins. And do not crowd this area. Ensure there is social distancing. As we get busy, it may be that we have to have sessions in the canteen, but at the moment it seems that we can do that without the sessions. So the induction presentation is now complete. So any additional bits of information or changes to this induction will be presented to you now. And if you have any questions regarding the induction, please raise these now. Thank you for your attention.